Welcome back on Guard Army. By popular demand, we are going to be covering Iron Valiant Vaporeon, which was a deck that this past Tuesday at my locals I managed to go 5-0 with. This is my more recent updated build, which has a more favored matchup into Miraidon. The reason we're covering this is because we did a poll on the Twitter, link in the description below, where over 50% of the people who voted, which there were about 100 people who voted for this particular list, so we're going to be covering that here today. I'm sorry that this didn't go up on Friday, I got distracted by Indigo Disc. Well, without further ado, let's jump right into the list. We have 4 Iron Valiant EX with Tachyon bits. When it comes to the active, it gets to ping something for 20. Very good with this particular deck. We have Vaporeon V, which actually has a really relevant attack. This attack is like the MVP in a ton of different matchups, including against Lost Box. It has the attack Splash Jump, which does 90 damage and lets us switch this Pokemon with one of our bench Pokemon. You may think, 2 water in a colorless, that's a lot of energy needed for an attack. But it is a Rapid Strike Pokemon, meaning Rapid Strike energy covers those 2 water costs, and Vaporeon has access to a special tool from Evolving Skies called Elemental Badge, which makes the attacks of Vaporeon, Flareon, and Jolteon that it's attached to cost 1 less energy. So that's the reason why this deck is fantastic. So with Splash Jump, it also has Triple Draw, which for 1 energy draws 3 cards. Not bad if you get off to a bad start. Splash Jump is very useful in a lot of different matchups, especially against Lost Box for pivoting into Klefki and keeping them locked while knocking out their Comfies. Also, if you pivot into a Valiant, you can still proc the Tachyon bits, so you can theoretically do 110 or even more damage with this Splash Jump attack. Then we have Vaporeon VMAX, which is the star of the deck. This one has an attack Max Torrent, which does 100 plus 100 more damage if there was any damage on our opponent's active Pokemon. So, with Tachyon bits, we will ping something for 20, and then we can hit it for 200. This is more consistent damage than something like Entei would be, because you need to rely on their bench, whereas this is just consistently doing 200 damage. It also has Bubble Pod, which lets us put a water Pokemon from our discard pile onto our bench, and attach up to 3 water energy cards. There is an argument for playing basic water energy in this deck if you want to make use of Bubble Pod, but I currently do not. I am playing 2 basic fightings for the Urshis. Then for the Miraidon matchup, because otherwise the Miraidon matchup is a little bit shaky, we are playing a 1-1 Urshi line. The regular Urshi has Strafe, which does 30 and pivots, so it's a nice little similar to Splash Jump attack for bouncing into a Klefki on our bench. So it's definitely useful like that. We also have 100 Furious Blows, which for 2 fighting and a colorless does 150 as well. But the main reason we are playing this is for the Urshifu VMAX, so we can just retreat from our bench into Gale Thrust for 150 damage, times 2 against Miraidon because it's weak to fighting, and we're taking easy KOs with something that's very difficult for them to KO. We also have Rapid Flow, so after we Gale Thrust something, we can attach another energy after that, discard them all, and then hit the active for 120 and snipe the bench for 120, or just snipe 2 things on the bench for 120. If we're hitting the active against Miraidon with Gale Thrust, or not Gale Thrust, with Rapid Flow, we're doing 240 to the active and 120 to the bench, which can set up math for our Vaporeon to be able to finish off the game in the next turn. Then we have Medicham V. Yoga Loop is absolutely broken in this deck. We ping very aggressively with Valiant on turn 1, then Yoga Loop, and then immediately evolve into our Vaporeon. We can get rid of a support Pokemon and then immediately bonk a big 2-prizer in the active on turn 1. This makes for some absolutely insane combinations. And then we have Squawkabilly EX with Squawk and Seize. We discard our hand and draw 6. Helps us more aggressively draw for our Switch cards in order to get more damage on the field with Valiant turn 1, and then be able to Yoga Loop. It's also great for just getting a general setup and drawing into our Battle VIP passes to set up our bench. And then we have 2 Klefkis. This has the ability Mischievous Lock, which as long as this Pokemon is in the active spot, basic Pokemon in play have no abilities. So against something like Lost Box, if this is in the active, they can't use concealed cards, they can't use flower selecting. Like, you're locking down most of what Lost Box can do, and even against Tina, if they just come up into the active in Abyss Seeking, you can just ping it and then Vaporeon VMAX knock them out. Absolutely insane. This makes the Lost Box matchup very favored. Then we have 4 Professor's Research, the pretty Juniper art. We discard our hand and draw 7 cards. It's the best draw in the game, especially in a deck that we're wanting to aggressively draw. This is great for being able to find the cards that we need. Then we have 2 Ionos for a little bit of disruptive draw. It can be good draw in the early game, being able to draw 6, putting our hand onto the bottom of our deck and then drawing 6 cards off the top, or as the game goes on, it can be more disruptive against our opponent, because it makes both players shuffle their hand, put it at the bottom of their deck, and draw cards for as many prize cards as they have remaining. Then we have 2 Colress's Experiment. This is great for if we want to keep our hand but also want to add more cards to our hand for a better combination. We get to see the top 5 cards of our deck, select 3 of them, and put the other 2 in the Lost Zone. Considering we're playing a Battle VIP Pass based deck, we can also just Lost Zone some of our Battle VIP Passes as we don't hit them in the early game, in order to not see them again if we get judged or Iono'd in the late game. Then we have 2 Boss's Orders for being able to gust up things. This is great for being able to gust up something that we've already been pinging down with Valiant throughout the game, and then KOing it with Vaporeon VMAX. Then we have 1, 2, 3, 4 Battle VIP Pass. This is great for being able to, on the first turn of the game, only on the first turn of the game, we get to search our deck for 2 basic Pokemon and put them onto our bench and then shuffle our deck. This is great for getting all of our Valiants onto the field. Vaporeon, Medicham, Squawk, Rapid Strike Urshifu, or in the Lost Box matchup, we just want to grab a double Klefki in most cases. We get both of them onto the field, we go attach Elemental Badge, attach Rapid Strike Energy, hit Comfy for 90, bounce into Klefki, and then they're locked. Fantastic. The Klefki by itself, even if we're going first, like in that matchup, if we want to go first, or if they choose to go second, if they're like Giratina and they want to Abyss Seeking, we can immediately get Klefki into the active to lock them down very early on. Then we have 3 Ultra Balls. This is great for finding our evolutions or just anything else that we may need throughout the course of the game. Since we play varying evolutions, we definitely need 3 Ultra Balls in order to find them as consistently as we possibly can. Then we have 1 Nest Ball for being able to have a little bit of extra basic search. This could be theoretically the out that we need in addition to the Battle VIP Passes and the Ultra Balls to hit 8 in order to more consistently get Squawkabilly onto the field in games that we don't just have draw in our hand initially. And then we have a Hisuian Heavy Ball, as a lot of these pieces we do need specifically in specific matchups. For example, the Rapid Strike Urshifu V, we definitely want to be able to get back with Hisuian Heavy Ball. Squawkabilly in games that we need to draw aggressively on turn 1. Medicham in most of the games, because Yoga Loop comes up super often. Vaporeon V if we prize it. 1 of our Klefki if we're against Lost Zone, obviously. It's just a fantastic card for being able to find all of our pieces, considering we are playing a wide variety of different cards. Then we have 4 Switches, the Expedition Switches, because they are the best art of Switch, by far. And then we have 4 Escape Ropes, for being able to phase our opponent and also just as more switching effects. And then we have 3 Switch Cart. Most builds would have 4, but this one only has 3, just because of our evolutions, because we can't switch with our evolutions. And most of the time, if we're pivoting into an Iron Valiant that has Future Booster Energy Capsule on it, so we can retreat back out into the Vaporeon in the first place, but it is nice for healing off some damage from some little bits of spread that might have been put around our board. Then we have a Super Rod. This is to be able to shuffle back any of our variety of Pokemon, and now that we are also playing 2 basic fighting energies, it can get back those as well. At first I was only playing 4 Rapid Strike Energy and a DTE, but now that I'm playing the Urshis, we decided to add in 2 fighting energy, so having the Super Rod has been way more justifiable now. Then we have 2 Future Booster Energy Capsules. This gives our Iron Valiants free retreat. It would also make them do 20 more damage if we were ever swinging with that in this deck, which we are not. Then we have 2 Elemental Badge. This allows our Vaporeon to attack for a singular Rapid Strike energy. We do not need any more attachments on it. We just go Elemental Badge, attach Rapid Strike energy, and we can either Splash Jump or use Max Torrent for that big 200 damage. Then we have 4 Seal Stone. This lets us search our deck for any given card throughout the game once during our game. So we can attach this to either our Medicham or our Urshifu. Most of the time we don't want to attach it to our Vaporeon, even though it can be used like that in a pinch to get us out of a bad spot. But most of the time we'll be using it on one of these 2 Pokemon, because the Vaporeon most of the time wants the Elemental Badge on it. Then we have a Technical Machine Devolution. This makes the evolution matchups, including Charizard especially, a lot better, so we can be able to, for example, we can Splash Jump a Charizard into Valiant, ping the bench, and then we can ping more times with Valiant as much as we can, and then we just devolve them all the next turn. We can also G-Max Rapid Flow, set damage around the field, and then Devolution TM later. It's great for setting up checkmates against a lot of different matchups. And then we have 1, 2, 3 town stores for being able to search out all of our tools. We have a wide variety of tools, so obviously we are going to need to find them in some way. And then we have 4 Rapid Strike Energy and 2 Basic Fighting Energy to round out our list. The low energy count is actually really good here because it means we can play all of this other stuff to help us with a ton of other matchups. And all of our attackers are very low management in terms of our energies. The Urshifu can attack for a single energy attachment for 150, or go attach, Rapid Flow. Vaporeon only needs a single Rapid Strike energy in order to attack as well, same with Medicham. And then the basic energies can also be used to retreat out of Klefki or Squawkabilly, or attack with them if you need to in a pinch. I think that this list is absolutely fantastic and takes a ton of favored matchups into this meta, so I hope you all enjoy this list and give it a shot if you want. I know there have been a lot of people on Twitter lately who have just been tagging me with their success with Vaporeon Valiant. I've seen so many people get top cuts at their leagues this week when they haven't gotten top cuts in a while. I absolutely love this list for that. So give it a try and let me know in the comments down below what you would change about this list or some other lists that you want me to cover in the future. Follow the Twitter down below as well, because we will continue to do polls for different decks to cover. Hope you all have a lovely rest of your day, and I will catch you all later.